What's up, Madden Men of the People? Zfarls back here with the NFL Playoffs program in MUT. Now, in our last video, we went over all of the new content, including the Tom Brady and all of these other players right here. But in this video, we're actually going to dive deep into each individual team, the elites and the golds. I'm going to give you my Mount Rushmore 4 best players from this program for budget. And I want to make one quick update and let you guys know that I do believe the LeGarrette Blount will be the meta. Hey guys, quick note on this video. There is some microphone popping. Hopefully it still gets the message across. I'll try and fix it from the next one, but just wanted to give you a heads up. Upcoming, he has 90 speed with 96 strength, big time truck and jump. I would expect to see him on almost every salary cap team, replacing Derrick Henry in a lot of situations. I also think Jimmy Graham could become the new meta. If you've been using Jared Cook, it could go to this Jimmy Graham. The Mike Mitchell, very popular, and the Vic Beasley with 90 speed is the fastest D-end in the game by 5 speed points. The only person that's close are the 4 other versions of Vic Beasley. So for Crossman and all of that, this Vic Beasley is going to be amazing. There's some good items here. We talked about it in our last video, but let's dive into the actual budget players and wait until the end for our Mount Rushmore. For all you head-to-head guys out there, there's still a limited time left on this Playoff Blitz event. This is a new style event that will pop up from time to time. You see Playoff Blitz, you can enter with tickets, points, or you can play the free version. Let me know in the comments if you're gonna play this. I know Mole played some, I know Jay Stein played some, a bunch of you guys out there. Comment if you won a title and how the rewards were. I'm interested to see. I know they want to do more events like this in the future, so good stuff here with the Playoff Blitz for online head-to-head MUT. All right, one more legend review before we do the budget, guys. Suggs gets an item. We said we would review it. 85 speed, 94 strength, 92 block shed. He has excellent pass rush moves. However, to me, 85 speed's slightly slow for a crossman true defender. That's why I like the LT. I give him a slight edge in all-around ability. But for the specific role, Suggs' strength and block shed make him the best lockdown edge defender in the game. And he can rush the passer. He's got some hit power. I do like this Suggs in the right situation. You move him down to DE later in pass rushing situations. If you guys are looking for value, I've got a guy, though, that I think can do some of what he does for less coming up. And then we have Frank Gore. He gets a battle-ready 91 speed, 93 truck. Overall, a tremendous item. Battle ready, it's the meta right now. 94 acceleration. He's right up there with the speed. All it really is going to factor into is the cost. We broke him down compared to David Johnson. We broke him down compared to Todd Gurley. It's up to you. It's really up to you the type of back you like. Frank can catch a little bit, not maybe as good as the Johnson, but better than, say, the Gurley, better than, say, a Derrick Henry. 94 acceleration is tremendous. The truck is right there. The strength is up. I like what this Gore brings to the table with Battle Ready. So 2 good playoff legends, and we'll give you that one budget guy coming up. All right, so that budget player is not Jordan Howard because of his price. Jordan Howard, you'd think it's a budget player, but with Battle Ready, building off his previous item, which was budget at about 50K, this guy will be expensive. He has 91 speed, same as Gore. Doesn't have the agility or the acceleration, but the truck is right there at 94 and 94 carry. So depending where the overall cost is, Howard is an under-the-radar name, not as legendary as Frank Gore, but ratings-wise, you're looking really good. We have to consider where the coins are because Howard's not technically under the radar in the MUT community because people had his previous version with 89 speed and they really, really liked it. So it's not a sleeper, but just wanted to throw him out there as we missed him in our last review. Football Outsider Jordan Howard, battle ready. So here's the first page of the NFL playoff options. Toy Lolo Levine, he's 6'8". He's really one of the only guys I would consider. Now he doesn't have the speed. He doesn't have necessarily the strength or the run block, but he's 6'8" and he has 87 spec catch. So that is always something to consider if you had him as a backup. Is there a way you could get him some routes on high points? Would he even jump for them because he's so tall? Like, if you guys remember back a few years ago, Tweezy made a Levine Toy Lolo golden ticket option in Ultimate Team. So, I mean, he's pretty much the only player we would explore in adding to our lineup from this first page here. So starting with the second page of golds here, I like this Jalen Richard. I think he's pretty solid overall for an 83, moving up the ranks. Christian Michael always has some wheels, but he didn't really get upgrades moving along this point in the season. So his 92 Excel is good. He's always been a good budget draft champs back, but 89 speed at this point, I think you're better off with the Richard. I would move up here to Demetrius Harris. I think this is one of the better tight ends options out there, especially in salary cap. 87 speed. It's right up there with Ladarius Green. He's 6'7", and he has 86 spec, 85 catch and traffic. Now, he doesn't have the route running, but there is a lot you can do if you were to compare him to the Ladarius Green, who's right around the same cap, 33 or so. And then Jimmy Graham is like the next level of 6'7", who is more cap. I believe he's up at like 37. So I like this Demetrius Harris quite a bit. Phillip Gaines, I was pretty interested by his athletic ability, 92, 92, 92. But I think the man in zone, that's a little bit low for this point in the season. I think there's some better 83s, which we have in our budget sheet. And then Eric Flowers at 91 strength, 86 run block. Not bad for decent run block, obviously, if you believe in the pass block and you need somebody to shore up that left tackle position a little bit better, you can go. But that's a baseline. That's a decent baseline at this point in this season, as low as I would go. That's pretty much it so far on this page. Geronimo Allison gets a 90 speed option after his excellent catch earlier. So that is the second page of golds. And then on the initial list of gold options here, I'd pass on Zach Zenner. I would pass on Damian Williams and Sharkandrick West. I think the original Raiders player gets you more options. You could get Williams up to potentially 90 elusive. You can get Zenner up to 90 truck. Decent options, but I think you can do a little bit better. Some of the speedier Tavon Austin at halfback if you want an elusive, or a cheaper version of Derrick Henry. Paul Richardson is an alert player because he had a big game for Seattle, and he's already at 91 speed with 91 spec. You know he's going to get a spec boost because he caught 17 passes with one hand, and he's already at 91 speed. This guy his next item could really kind of put him into a nice window of option. Reef, not the strongest, but okay run block right there. More halfbacks with Perkins, who I would pass on. He's too balanced. McFadden, who didn't really get any other items leading up to this, so he's not quite where he would be. Normally a big fan of Darren McFadden's in Madden since way back. Jesse James is another tight end for the Steelers, 6'7", so another option here. 85 speed, slightly slower, but good catch in traffic. Still doesn't have the route running. I would recommend the Chiefs player Demetrius Harris instead. And then lastly, Jalen Collins, 90 speed, 89 man, 90 press. Those are pretty nice coverage ratings. Right up there with Eli Apple, 91 speed, 88 zone, 88 press. So you throw an Apple, a Collins, and a Jamar Taylor from the Browns, you're looking nice. Screen passes, you might think, can I get a Taylor Gabriel involved? This is one of his first items that he's received. He's had a big season for Atlanta, so he's not quite where he should be, but he's pretty balanced with 91 speed. He could be another playoff alert player because he's playing such good football at this time. Harmon doesn't have quite the man coverage you would need to play cover 0 at 83, but he's close. 90 zone is good, but it doesn't match his play rec, so I'd want to see that be a little bit higher before I put him out there at strong safety for just coverage. I do have a strong safety option, though, coming up. Let's take a look now at the elites in this NFL playoffs options. All right, time to dig into the elites. So you see Villanueva here, not a true need, pretty good pass blocker. Mitch Morse, an amazing pass blocker. Perry Riley, always been a stud in Madden, but he's a little bit slower now. Still has some hit power and good play rec across the middle, but I don't think he'll make too many squads. There's 89 run block on this Ripkowski if you need a guy, but I think you can do a little bit better at the fullback position depending on how much you run I for him and need actual blockers. Matt Moore, 86 deep. He's pretty balanced, but I want to see higher than 88 throw power. I'd check out the McCarron if I wanted to use an item in that range. McKinney, we'll move on from. I like his block shed as a good, solid run defender. His play rec could be a little higher, but decent zone. He'll be a guy you could set and forget across the middle. Robert Alford for 20K, very good value. 92 speed, 90 man coverage. Great agility to match that man coverage if you're going to move to a scheme like that. This could be a guy We might be able to boost up to 90 play rec, and he should be playing pretty lockdown defense for you as the game adds more athletes to the secondary to really match up and maybe get some more man coverage involved. Shaq Mason, the guard, very good, solid, 88 strength, 90 run block, 89 pass block, good balance. Kennard, I thought he was going to be a little bit better in coverage, but what he actually does have is block shed. So if you needed a block shed item, I would pass on him as his coverage skills aren't as high as I expected, and then his pass rush moves, that's not really what he's for. So he is out there, but you can get stronger options, and we'll talk a little bit about those. Chris Jones, the right end, good strength, good block shed, good power move. This is the best option of these style players on this page. The branch, in my opinion, has 78 strength at left end. That's not going to get it done. You could potentially get ran over. There's a few other guys here that I would move away from. But speaking of beef, this Dan Williams has 93 strength, 93 block shed, 90 play rec. He's up at 50K, which is right around where the Brandon Williams is, who I would guess is coming down in price. But he's another option of player you can get who's inexpensive, or who will be coming down in price to really just clog the middle and do one specific thing and take him off the field on pass downs. Brandon Carr is up to 90 speed with 93 acceleration. And look at that balanced zone, man. He's physical. He'll be right at that brink of 90, depending on your chemistry. And this is pretty rock solid as it gets. I'd like to see this as most players' lowest rated number 2 corner. I think there's enough options that you should be able to get to 90 and 90. Whether you play man or whether you play zone, you should have at least a 91 or 90 speed guy out there with at least 90 zone and right about 90 play rec. The press is up to you, but that's as low as I'd like to see you guys get. I think you can earn enough coins now to really have that be where you are. Crabtree, 88 speed, 89 catch and traffic. I think this is another guy who's just almost too balanced for his own good. Right, 88, 88, 89, 88, 89, 90. He doesn't do any one thing specific. He's going to be rock solid. But I'd rather have a guy like Will Fuller, who has 93 speed, who's at least a speed demon. Yes, he's lower at 86, 86 with his route running and catching traffic than Crabtree, but at least you know you could potentially make some big plays downfield to him. He obviously had a really good run for Spot Me Please with his rookie version last year, so he seems to be still out there. Hargrave, I'd rather see Dan Williams. For beef, pass on Micah Hyde, and let's move on to the next list. And right here is where it starts to get real spicy. It leads off with Larry Warford, who's 90 across the board. Great option. Sheared is at end. He's not the strongest, but the block shed's good, and his finesse move is pretty premium for a guy that size. I would pass because I think he can do a little bit better, but keep him in mind if his price comes down from that 60K. Shed, 89 speed, 90 zone. Remember, that's where we want to see everybody get to. His price has to come down, though. Otherwise, I'd go with Brandon Carr over him. I think the Mitch Morse does that better. Keanu Neal, this is the guy everyone is talking about in the community. He is the #1 guy on my Mount Rushmore for these NFL playoffs. 90 speed, 88 zone, 90 play rec, and 93 hit power. Tremendous for Keanu Neal right here. I put him up there with the Tandy, who's a little bit more athletic, but maybe doesn't have the hit power. He's more of a cover guy. Neal, up in the box, great option. Compare him to Carl Joseph. Pick whichever one costs less or slightly tweaks to your scheme. But those are the 3 guys at strong safety you should be having as a budget. Lippett, 90 speed, 92 zone, 90 press. There it is. There it is, but he's got to come way down in price before you jump in. Tyreek Hill had a halfback option. That's one of the best budget in the game, right next to the Tavon Austin. Now, a new item with 94 speed receiver makes him one of the fastest in the game. He doesn't do everything else, but with 94 speed, it doesn't really matter. If you can lock this guy down for cheaper, you could use him as returner or put him in certain situations where you would use a Brandon Cooks, who is the only player with that type of speed. I'd pass on the Demps, but look at that acceleration, look at that speed, look at the zone in the play rec. This is a bit of a sleeper. Now, you're not going to get the hit power, but if you don't have a Dawkins, you don't have a Sean Taylor, you don't have the Clinton Dix, this Quentin Demps could fill in pretty nice for you, but there's one other guy I like a little bit better, and we'll talk about him shortly. But we got to keep the price in mind. 25K is super cheap. He should be at least your backup option. 91 speed, 92 zone, 91 press. Enough said. Price will have to come down for Cockrell, but pretty great item right there. 90 strength, 92 pass blocker for Bulaga. Cole Beasley as a slot receiver, 93 catching traffic with 93 route running. Maybe he's a little bit cheaper version of Julian Edelman in that slot role. Golden Tate, pass to balance across the board. Kenny Stills, 93 speed and spec on Kenny Stills. Not for 71K, but we'll see where it comes down to. Logan Ryan gets a 91 zone. He's a corner. He's right. All these guys are log jam in. All these corners that we're showing right now, they're all log jamming right in that 90, 90, 90. I was talking about it, but you got to figure out based on price and just who tweaks and fits your scheme. Poe, cheap beef for your defense, 94 strength, 94 block shed. Better power move, but if you can just go get the Dan Williams, you're going to save yourself 40K because you're still not really going to play Poe in pass rushing situations, so I wouldn't pay extra over the Dan Williams. That's a little pro tip. Merciless, good edge defender with the 91 block shed, but I think at left outside linebacker, I've got a different option for you guys in 1 second here. Gabe Jackson, always one of the best guards in the game, a good pass blocker and another nice upgrade, a run blocker for Leary if you need a guy. Now, Tevin Coleman's always been a good budget back in salary cap. People using, he has a team of the week that they really like. This right here, if you can get him over the 90 truck, say you have the Henry in the background with 92 speed, 90 truck, okay carry, I wish it was a little bit higher, but good acceleration, I bet he's going to play up to the form. Now he's 70K, so that's pretty expensive for that when you have a Jordan Howard out there who's a little slower but maybe has that similar truck. You'd have to find out just who plays the best, but for 92 speed, this Tevin Coleman could be kind of the next upgrade for those guys already using him in cap. Morgan Burnett needs the hip power at strong safety if he wants to get in my Trinity. I still recommend the Joseph or the Keanu Neal over him. KJ Wright, look at this. 85 speed, he's got 89 hip power, good block shed, good play rec, good zone. This is a guy you set and forget. Compare him to the Sean Lee. Compare him to Thomas Davis. They all do things a little bit differently. Thomas Davis doesn't have the block shed, but KJ Wright does have the block shed. So he's still up at 105K. I think he can do a little bit better in price with maybe the Sean Lee, but he should drop as his items usually have some good value involved. Rock solid Doug Baldwin. This is, the next Crabtree, but for 70K, I wouldn't go here. I still think you can find some better value out there at the receiver position. There's many, many, many receivers that are right at that 90 speed, 92 route running area. And at 5'10", the spec doesn't quite get you where you need to be. So I would look for a player that fit a more specific role for the defense. Before we move on to the number one sheet, can't forget about Snacks. Snacks is 83K. I'd still go with the Jackson, but Snacks could actually play with that 90 power move. Plus he's got 93 strength, 95 block shed. I like him over the Poe, but I don't like him as much as the Williams. But if you had some extra coins to throw at him, you could do it. He's a little bit slow in there, and I'd still take him out and move a higher finesse move player like a Javon Curse inside. All right, final list on the NFL playoffs. Alex Smith gets 80 speed and 89 throw power on this edition. He had a team hero that was an 85. If he had had a few games where he could have built up, I think he would have been nice because he needed that throw power to kind of boost over the course of the season, but he doesn't quite get there, and I wouldn't use him. If I was going to pay 52 cap for a quarterback, I'd probably use the McNabb compared to, I believe McNabb's about 53. There's really good options. Carr right in there at 53, and that's where I would go. A little bit low strength on the Schrader, but good pass and run block. Now, Glover Quinn is a free safety that was great last season. He hasn't had as many items in Ultimate Team this year, but his speed's at 89, play recs at 89, and zones at 91. He's never going to be a true hip power guy. Decent amount of ratings, though. We had a guy in the last page that you could check out, a free safety we mentioned, Will Demps, I believe. Or if you can't afford the HaHa Clinton Dix, who's kind of the meta of budget kind of blend of this area, but you can't pony up quite 75K for Quentin Demps. It's just too much. You got to see if this guy can come down in price. Pugh, another guy with a little bit low strength, but really good balance, 90-90. Reggie Nelson, 90 speed, 91 zone, 90 play rec. This is another guy that's going to go on my Mount Rushmore. He's not going to be as cheap as the others on the block, but I think his price could come down from this position. His hit power is at 82, so another one of these speedy options at free safety with the trinity that you need, the 90 speed, the 90 play rec, the 91 zone. That's the minimum I think you should try and get your team to at both those positions. Good luck. Keanu Neal, Reggie Nelson, really nice. Also, digging up through this list, James Harrison is the player I would closest compare to Terrell Suggs. Now, Terrell Suggs is going to have 5 faster speed, but the strength and the block shed are what reminds me of it. And I think at 80 speed, at 85 speed, you're still not really going to use those guys to cross man players. So they're going to play a similar role, 91 play rec, and then he has 94 power move and 81 finesse move, 92 hit power. Really like this James Harrison. Now, he only sits at 66K, likely because of the speed, so I think that there's a steal potential there. Barry Church at strong safety, not as good, perhaps, as the Keanu Neal, but depending where the price ends up, you could go to Barry Church if you can't get yourself into the Keanu Neal, but I think he'll end up being less. We went over all these other options here, so let me know in the comments, who do we miss, who do you like? I'm going to give you my Mount Rushmore right now. So we're going to start it with Demetrius Harris. You were taking notes, so you remember he is the 87 speed, 83 overall tight end who's 6'7". Use him like a Ladarius Green. I have Dion Lewis actually on here. We skipped over him, but I wanted to surprise you guys with one. 83 halfback, 44 cap. He's got 91 speed, 94 agility, 92 acceleration. His elusive, his spin, his juke all above 90. Route running has been increasing. I think he has an option of maybe getting a team of the week if the Patriots have a big game. And this is a guy you're going to have to keep looking out for. So I snuck him on the list. Maybe he gets a milestone and goes with Energizer. That could be pretty nice. Keanu Neal, I know he's at 50K. He's the most expensive kind of the options that we're going to throw out here. But I just think he does all three things so well. And this is, you know, if you're not going for Cam Chancellor, if you're not going for Kraus, but Kraus doesn't have the hit power. Like, this guy plays different than Kraus does. But if you're not going to get Cam Chancellor, this is kind of the next step down. And then lastly, Dan Williams, and I know he's at 50, but I don't want you guys to get fooled by, say, Poe or another Harrison, who's, you know, big-time expensive D-tackle, when you can get similar ratings that you could get from the Brandon Williams earlier in the season at about this cost. So look out for that. There's, as you guys saw, plenty of corners, plenty of receivers that are all, and plenty of safeties that are all at that 90, 90, 90. I know that's what the video sounded like me saying, but I think with some tweaks and looking at costs and trying to figure out where the options are going to come a little bit down in price, you'll be in a really good situation. Like Tyreek Hill, if he returns a punt in the playoffs and gets one more team of the week, that's 95 speed maybe. We're looking at an amazing option. I didn't put Hill on because I think, you know, you have a Cooks already out there with that speed. Is it worth it? Is it worth it if we really look and break it down, and that's the goal? Hopefully this kind of helped you get a look at like how much content there is, and then who might be worth putting in, then who's worth keeping for yourself. Like if you grab a Tevin Coleman, is he now your feature back, or do you sell him? But I mean, Tevin Coleman for 60K is a steal, and I expect that to get potentially lower as it goes on. LeGarrette Blount gonna be out there in full force. Not going to see a lot of Tom Brady's in my opinion. It's a lot to feed into those sets when those guys before him are really, really good and he can't potentially scramble. But if you need the most accurate, best pocket passer in the game, then you got to go for Tom Brady. But I'm going to hold off because I'm going to always want to scramble, and hopefully Randall Cunningham can deliver those results for me, guys. Long video. Hopefully this helps you, though. If it did, drop a like. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll be back next time for more content. All right? Lock up.